Design for manufacturability issues. What does Cadence offer in Allegro? Let's talk about that next. Okay, design for manufacturability for boards. What's the deal here? Why is it an issue? Well, obviously you want to check for manufacturability before you start to make anything. Usually that happens pretty late in the design process, so there's a big emphasis on shifting that left, trying to get it earlier in the design and development process so that you can fix those issues before you even get late in the process. Because manufacturers, when you pass a design to them, they'll often do a manufacturability analysis. That might take a week. And if you have an issue, you come back and fix it, it might take another week. So you can see a significant delay if you don't address these issues up front. So why not? It's interesting, on the mechanical design side, there have been solutions that have come out that have standard checks that kind of apply to almost anything. If you're doing machining, well, you can have standard checks, right? The issue with board manufacturing is that you see dramatic variation based on the type of design it is, rigid versus flex, multi-board systems. You also see dramatic variation based on the manufacturer, where it's being manufactured. So it is often on a case-by-case basis that you need to come up with these checks. So there's a fundamental it's a fundamental issue why you can't have standardized checks. So what has Cadence done with respect to this, and what are they offering? So they have this solution called Design True DFM, and it's part of their InDesign type of focus that they have. So this is actually offered right within Allegro. And what that means is while you're designing the board, you can run these checks and get immediate feedback. And you can even do comparisons to see, hey, I want to do this or I want to do this. What are the implications on manufacturability? So it looks at all sorts of issues like ring problems, copper spacing. There are all sorts of issues around vias, also drilling for the board, basically around traces. So all sorts of stuff you can look at for that. So it gives you that kind of insight up front. So now what's also very interesting about this, how do you solve that? Okay, you can't use a standard set of parameters for manufacturability. Cadence has actually set up a portal where a design house, whoever is designing the board, can go in and make a request of the manufacturer for the parameters and constraints they should use to check for DFM. The manufacturer can put that information into the portal, and it can be downloaded directly and then imported into Allegro and used for these checks, for these kind of InDesign checks in the middle of design and development. So why is that interesting and important? Well, it kind of gets around this whole intellectual property issue with file attachments and email. I know email is used everywhere to exchange files today, but frankly, it is just not secure. So this gives a more secure way for a one-to-one kind of communication from the manufacturer to the design house to get them the information for that job. And what's also interesting about that is that over time, the design house can build up this library of DFM checks for that manufacturer for specific scenarios. So, and it can be just imported right within Allegro and used from there. So it's a pretty straightforward process, pretty streamlined. So that's what's offered. It actually does enable the shift left with DFM. It's interesting. They've thought about some of the fundamental issues that have been part of the process and come up with some interesting solutions that address those directly. So that's it. Those are the capabilities of DFM within Allegro. Take care and talk soon.